Internet. We're on another episode of Binge Watch. I'm Gig Patta, a writer here at LRM Online, and I am joined by my co-host here. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Emmanuel Manny Gomez, also a writer for LRMOnline.com.
All right. So in this episode, we are going to do a spoiler review of Star Trek Picard, which is the latest Star Trek series, which is on CBS All Access right now. I believe every single episode is now available on CBS All Access. And in this series, it's the return of Jean-Luc Picard after retirement, but he's on this new mission. Basically, there is some kind of diabolical plan going off, and this time it revolves all around the Romulans in this case. So let's go ahead and get off the first impressions. Manny, what did you think about the series for Star Trek Picard?
Well, I kind of went into it just kind of a nostalgia trip, pretty much. And for and foremost, that's really what I got. And then I actually found the plot to be pretty interesting, especially being surrounded Data. He's one of my favorites growing up because he was always so robotic or synthetic. So yeah, it was. I didn't have high expectations for it, so I had fun with it.
The thing about Star Trek to me is when I think of Star Trek, I always think of like the original Star Trek, with William Shatner. I think of Jean-Luc Picard and what's his series? The Enterprise. It's not called the Enterprise. It's called
no. It was the Next Generation.
Next Generation, because there's also a Star Trek Enterprise,
right?
Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Now, the thing about all those series is that each episode is like an individual mission.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's always a lesson that comes with the individual mission. It's not like the TV shows that we actually have today, where an entire season there's sort of like this story arc in its own way. And Star Trek Picard is nothing like all those other Star Trek shows. It actually has one story arc. So all the episodes literally has something to tie together with each other. So I was kind of on the fence on this after watching it because, in my opinion, it didn't follow the traditional Star Trek per se. Okay? Where basically you boldly go where no man has gone before. It just totally threw all of that out the window. It just became, to me, was just a sci-fi series. And that was my observation overall with this Star Trek. So, and I've been hearing this, not necessarily through fans or anything like that. I'm actually been hearing it because I've interviewed a few Star Trek actors, and they don't like the new, more recent Star Trek that they're actually developing because it's a lot different from the traditional Star Trek. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Oh, I completely see it. Even the new animated series, Star Trek Lower Decks, it kind of still follows that mold of every episode. Well, it's only been 2 episodes, but those 2 episodes, they kind of have their own little stories. Picard, I wasn't too sure going into it what exactly it was going to be, but I will say that I wasn't. I didn't go in it with the mindset of it being in kind of in line with the rest of the Star Trek series, because I was like, who are we really kidding? This is more of an homage to Jean-Luc Picard and the old days. This isn't necessarily what Starfleet is up to now, later, or then. And so but I will say that them spending so much time on land was a little off-putting, and then just going back and forth and it being just one long series, like you said, it made it feel like it was dragging along, even though if you took that kind of Star Trek name out of it, it just seems like a regular show.
Yeah, I actually did notice that, especially the first three episodes, they didn't really go into space at all. All that
Right.
happened was all that happened on Earth, and I think it happened where mostly was on his winery in Napa, and
Hmm.
at the Federation headquarters in San Francisco, which, by the way, looks like the Anaheim Convention Center.
It did. Okay, I'm not the only one who thought that. I was thinking, is like, did they shoot that in Anaheim? Because it does look a lot like that
It
convention
is
center.
the Anaheim Convention Center. They shot
Oh,
the
okay.
outside and the inside lobby of the Anaheim Convention Center, even though the Federation headquarters is supposed to be in San Francisco. And I
Hmm.
think his winery is in Napa Valley or something, across the bay. But you know what? It worked for me because the Anaheim Convention Center does look like a Federation headquarters. So let's take the first third of it. What was all on Earth? It actually introduced what did they call them? I forgot. Android? Not it's not an Android.
They are synthetics. Or
Synthetics. That's right.
yeah.
So the first three episodes kind of introduced us to that the villains were Romulans, and that they basically somehow wanted to kill synthetics. So
Hmm.
that's what it was. That's how it's set up in the first three episodes. And somehow the synthetic, there's actually two synthetics that they were trying to go after. One of them was on Earth, and for some unknown reason, she was triggered and went immediately to Picard. And obviously, this is a spoiler review. She was immediately dispatched in his own way. Um, let's talk about that scene first. What did you think about introducing? It's both synthetics are played by the same actors. Obviously, it's like
Right.
twins. But what did you think about introducing that synthetic first and immediately getting dispatched immediately in the first episode? How did you like that type of setup for the show?
I like it. It had a little bit of a Ned Stark feel, like, whoa, wasn't that supposed to be somebody important? And so it kind of boggles your mind a little bit, like, wait, what's going to happen then? So where are we being misdirected? What was I supposed to be paying attention to? And then it gets a little bit broader. And it's like, oh no, she's one of many. She's a synthetic. She's a robot, an android. So it doesn't really. She died. Yes, she has a twin, and actually she plays three characters in that series. Three,
That's right. She
yeah,
did play
three.
three characters. It's
Yeah,
actually a triplet. You're right. You're right.
right. She should get three paychecks. No, but yeah, it was a good pivot. I thought for a couple of episodes that the first 30 is saying that's pretty kind of boring if you really ask me. That was an interesting moment.
Yeah, I thought the first three episodes was I thought that scene was the most interesting scene. Other
Right.
than that, it kind of dragged a little bit until because it was just a little bit of politics. He was just like playing like, oh hey, reinstate me. I'm gonna start investigating this thing, that kind of stuff. And then it goes on the other side to the other triplet, the second unsynthetic, which happens to be sort of like on a disabled board ship where
Hmm.
this became like a science vessel in the Romulan territory. And it also was establishing that she had a relationship with a Romulan who's going to eventually betray her, through the season. A romantic relationship. Honestly, I found all that boring.
It was pretty cookie cutter. Like you knew what was going to happen down the line. It's like this guy is going to fall for her, but at the same time have to betray her. So let's get. It's almost like, all right, let's move it along. Let's get to it.
Yeah, and it didn't really present too many twists and turns,
Right.
but I guess the next three episodes is when it started to get interesting. Romulans tried to dispatch Picard at the end of third episode, and somehow he just decides, you know what, I'm going to fly out into space. I recruit this new captain of his own ship. I recruit one of my favorite officers that has never been
Right.
introduced before. Okay, she's a new character. I can't remember what her name is. I'll look it up real fast here. It is. Boy, I am horrible. Rafi Musiker, played by Michelle Hurd. So she gets recruited and so on, and somehow it also revealed Allison Pill, who happens to be the sort of like the scientist who was handling synthetic research, and I guess that all of a sudden Picard has this mission to go out, find the original scientist who created the synthetics on an off planet somewhere, and basically try to find what's going on with the synthetics and so on. What did you think about those next 3 episodes? I believe they went to this casino planet, and a couple episodes was basically where the stuff on the Borg ship starts to unravel.
It was getting really almost sad to be honest, because I'm used to seeing Jean-Luc Picard as the captain of the ship and having so much not necessarily power, but so much being decorated and just being respected, to now seeing him and everyone just kind of seeing him as the old retired veteran, who's just trying to find his something in his golden days. And so it's when they finally took off, it almost came together too quick. Like, he was just being stonewalled left and right, and then it just took a bottle of wine and a little bit more conversation, and all of a sudden they were looking for this other synthetic. We'll say that in Star Trek in general, I've always found the Borg to be super interesting and really, really cool, especially when they got him. Oh man, I remember that. And so seeing that the Borg were going to be involved in some way, that to me really livened it up for me. And it's like, oh, what's going to happen then? But I mean, come on, Romulans are always up to no good. So it was just a matter of time.
Yeah, but the Borg wasn't really the Borg.
Right.
Series. They were like they were Borg that were neutered in its own way. They were completely powerless, but they did bring back one of the famous Borgs from the Star Trek Next Generation. I can't remember, was it like 3 or?
No, that was actually, she's from Star Trek Voyager.
No. I'm talking about the other Borg on.
The other one. Oh, okay.
On the Borg ship. He was brought back for.
Okay. Now I know you're talking about. I don't remember his name.
Yeah. Go ahead. I don't remember his name. I guess you were jumping into 7 of 9.
Yeah, that was
who showed up in the casino episode. Casino Planet episode and so on, which I thought it was a guest role, but apparently it's much more of a bigger role than usual. And I thought that was an unusual take, because she just kind of like showed up, became a badass, and kind of stuck around, for quite a while. But I thought that was refreshing because I actually liked her in the original series. So
yeah,
I was kind of glad that they brought her back. So no complaints about that.
No, it was actually a good moment for me when she popped up. I was like, whoa! I was like, that's 7 of 9 from Voyager. I was like, that's different. So then it kind of brought in my mind to like, okay, who else is going to show up from what and where? And then I started to get a little bit more excited about not necessarily what was going on, but about cameos and who I was going to see from past series.
It did kind of start to get that feel when she showed up. You were actually expecting like a little bit more. It's because Data showed up and all this kind of stuff. So you're expecting more and more cameos. But one of the things that I thought was kind of off was the casino episode, because it just seemed out of place to me. It's just sort of like they just like threw it in there, saying, okay, we're just going to find this guy. Where are we going to find him? We're just going to find him in a casino planet. Who's being held hostage by like this notorious gangster who's going to sell him off to the Romulans, but just decides just to do it just recently after holding on to him for all this time. I thought that was like a weird thing.
It was. It sounds kind of familiar. There's a franchise called Star Wars that did a movie called what was it? Where
So
they go to a casino. I'm sorry. They go to a casino. Star Wars. It's one of the latest ones. Why can't I remember the
was
name?
that was that episode 8 where they had the
Eight.
casino plan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
eight. The Star Wars. Where you can take that entire scene out and it doesn't change anything. You're right. This is kind of the same thing. You could have put that guy in a ship just drifting about, or somebody knew his phone number or something, and it would have been all the same.
Yeah, and the thing was, the only reason why they had that episode was just to introduce Seven of Nine back into the series, as if she knew the gangster, as, for
Right. Yeah.
vengeful purposes. And I was like, so for the past 50 years or 100 years or whatever it was, you just found.
Yeah. They could have just given me a little bit more backstory of what she's been doing. That'd been great.
Yeah, yeah. So I do have to admit that episode was a little bit off. I thought everything else, when the Romulan stuff starts to unfold, they betrayed the Borg, all that kind of stuff. I thought that was the more interesting part. But then it started leading is because the synthetic and all of them fled the Borg ship to go to the distant planet where there is an entire planet of synthetics. And it reveals that why the Romulans are doing this was all because of some kind of prophecy,
Right.
that they believe that the synthetics, if you let them live, they will destroy the entire universe. All, not humankind, but like all non-synthetic kind. And that was the big twist. That was the big reveal, that the Romulans wasn't doing this just because they were evil.
Yeah.
They were doing this because they were trying to save the universe. What did you think about that twist in the plot?
I don't know. Made me think of Terminator. Made me think of iRobot. Made me think of a bunch of different series and movies that I've watched where the robots were going to lose control, and so somebody's got to stop them. This time it's not Will Smith though. So it was an interesting twist, but I just anytime it's something with a prophecy or something like that, I especially with synthetics, like now you're mixing in lore and culture and religion with modern with what they call modern technology. So somehow they were able to put it all together, and I would think that if this is that important to them, this is something that maybe should have been a little bit more well known throughout the universe. Like it's a religious teaching, or it's a Romulan prophecy. I would have thought that somebody like Jean-Luc Picard would know something like that, or somebody else.
I do agree, and the only reason why I agree with you that this was a poor twist was because you made the villains become the good guys in their own way, that they actually had good intentions. It's sort of like the Thanos thing. Oh, you know what? I'm going to kill off half the universe because it's a good thing. And these are the Romulans that they didn't share this prophecy knowledge really with anybody else. They basically said, you know what? We're going to save the universe, and if you stand in our way, we will kill you.
Yeah, it would make more sense if they just like, hey, we're actually doing this because this is what we thought. And then I think even Starfleet would be like, oh yeah, we probably should do that. Yeah, so it would have made more sense.
Yeah. So the last third, or the last 4 episodes, because I think it was a 10-episode series or something. The last 4 episodes, that's where actually I believe it actually got more interesting, because that's when everything actually gets unfolded. Basically, they go to the planet. They discover that there's all these synthetics, and they reveal the big twist that Picard doesn't see Data, but sees his maker.
Right.
Okay. and that all the synthetics have what, like twins or
Have a
triplets and all
twin.
this, which I thought that was kind of weird, by the way.
Well, the just to clarify, Picard is 11 episodes. I just looked it up just to make sure.
Oh, 11 episodes.
Um, but it was, if I'm not mistaken, the doctor was who we see there is as Data, that his dad was the one who made him look like that, just like him, and so that's who that was. Brent Spinner is the actor that plays him. You know, funny thing about that is that because of the events of Star Trek Nemesis, where he pretty much sacrifices himself, he said he would not come back as a character. So they had to build this story and kind of make this kind of lore where it's like, oh yeah, it's actually molded off of this guy, and that's the way they were able to get him back for this series.
Yeah, and it's funny thing that you mentioned 11 episodes is because on their way to this synthetic planet, they basically hid on another planet where they introduced the guest stars of William Riker and Deanna Troi, who's like cozying up in this cabin somewhere, you know, in this forest. Just to let you know, I hated that episode because that just threw me completely off. Like, it's sort of like you're building towards the climax, and all of a sudden going, okay, let's spend an entire episode
breather
just to relax, you know, take 30 seconds to think of that episode shouldn't even belong there at all. That was we think the casino episode was a throwaway episode. I think that was a throwaway episode. That had nothing really to do with anything. I mean, truthfully, they didn't even have to hide out there. They could just gone to the synthetic planet. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not like they weren't waiting for anything. That's kind of for me when the series really, like you said, slowed down, and then I was like, okay, so this series is more about nostalgia than actual storytelling, because or else we wouldn't be spending so much time on this. If Captain Riker shows up as he did in episode 11, I think that would have had more of an impact than having him show up earlier like this. I mean, if he shows up in a ship, I was like, whoa, you know, that I think that would have had a bigger wow factor than introducing him, spending all this time with him, barbecuing, and then seeing him in action later. Well, not really in action. He shows up as, you know, as support, but he's there, captain's chair, suited and booted, ready to go.
I know they spent like what 5 to 10 minutes talking about barbecuing pizza or something like that, which I thought would be kind of weird. But just to correct you, he did show up in episode 11.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
If they would have just done that cameo, I think it would have had a bigger wow factor.
Yeah, well, he doesn't really direct too much. I'm sure he directed a few episodes of Picard, the guy who played William Riker and so on. But that's the weird case. So let's go ahead and go to the last episodes where finally the big twist. Obviously, the Romulans find out where this planet is. So they somehow send, I can't even remember, like 1,000 Romulan ships. I'm just making it up. It's probably like 200 or something like that. 200 Romulan ships to go to this synthetic planet where there's what, like just a few dozen synthetics or something like that.
It's a town, if that.
It was like a village, and Picard is going to like save everybody, but of course, you know, the synthetics had this bright idea to create like some kind of signal tower to call some master god of synthetics, which I have no idea where this came from, to fulfill the prophecy, to defend them. And this master god of synthetics is going to come from a different dimension or a different universe or wherever it comes from to destroy all non-synthetic life. Did you enjoy that twist? Because I'll let you start first because I have a problem with it myself.
So my first problem began with when Picard looks at one of the synthetics and goes, "Did you say all living?" And she's like, "Yeah." Everybody's got to go. And then, and then they're going to like this. They're going to like this beacon. And so my first thought is, okay, who am I rooting for? Does Picard even know who he's rooting for? Does anyone know who we're supposed to be rooting for at this point? And so it was I kind of turned from rooting for somebody and being very excited to just trying to work it out and figure out which side I want to agree with. So it did take me out of the story a little bit because I couldn't figure out exactly what was going on. Maybe I just not that much into the Star Trek lore as I should be, but I was like, I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I thought my issue, I understood the beacon thing. I understood summoning a god from a distant universe, which that part didn't really make any sense because it started to feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it started to feel like the last third of Doctor Strange movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Where the entire point was just to open up this portal and this creature, which is like some kind of weird Cthulhu creature, was like coming through with its tentacles and all this kind of stuff. And then when I saw that, I was like going, really? Have we not seen this before? Whether it's through Doctor Strange or reading it through, Lovecraft's Cthulhu lore. Like, why is the synthetics god, which I don't even understand why they even have a god in the first place, because we created them.
True.
Okay. It should be like the aliens lore where humans created the aliens and it just ran amok. No, they actually have a god. The synthetics have a god and is trying to come through, and somehow the synthetic god just had these tentacles that was trying to come through. So that was the part that I didn't really like. But not to mention, the other part that I thought was kind of weird is that you introduced like 200 Romulan ships. So they show up. And then at the last minute, Federation ships shows up. Okay? So you think that there will be this huge climactic scene, and then the gate opens, and then this synthetic Cthulhu god tries to come through, and you're waiting for this huge battle, which would be awesome. And then what happens? Beacon shut off. Cthulhu god goes away. They basically, Captain Riker says, surrender, shut down your weapons. Romulan said, okay, we're out of here.
You forget also 7 of 9 brought the entire Borg station over.
Oh yeah. Well, technically, she brought the whole entire Borg station and crashed it.
Right. True. Yeah. Earlier. So
it wasn't like the best ideal situation. And not only that, I find the planetary defenses of that synthetic planet was kind of funny because they just sent orchids.
They sent flowers.
Yeah.
They
sent flowers.
So I think my biggest problem with it was I'm such a big fan of individual episodes, like you said, but I love it when ships go red alert or ships go into battle mode, or just that classic Star Trek battle gets seen, and then the shields and the rays and the torpedoes and the beams and everything, and like you said, it set the playing field. But it was just like they just walked off, and it was like not one ship wants to stay in battle, and it was like, oh, okay, I guess they just give up.
Yeah, and I thought, I thought that it wasn't like a real climactic battle. I mean, that was a climactic battle, but it was sort of like a weird Mexican standoff without anyone getting killed.
It seems like if you're going to put something like that in, that should have been something like in the middle of the series to tease, the actual battle. Kind of, have you seen up to the second season of Discovery?
Yes, I have. Yeah,
that battle.
I was going to mention Discovery, which is not a great show in my opinion. did a little bit better job in terms of like space battle scenes.
I
But
love Discovery.
oh, do you?
I did.
I kind of stopped watching Discovery after they got rid of Jason Isaacs,
Oh, okay.
right? And then all of a sudden after that, I just like kind of tuned off because I thought, what's her name? I can't remember who the black woman who she for some unknown reason, like they kept on promoting her so much that you would think that she was captain of the new the new Star Trek series, but turned out to be she was never captain
No.
of the series. Just like a, and then later on, as you watch it, she was not even like the main characters. Like they're trying to put like everybody kind of like on equal footing, you know.
Mhm.
So it's Star Trek. We're not reviewing Star Trek Discovery, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
We're just referencing that battle.
Yeah, we're just referencing that battle. So, anyways, let's quickly go through some of the new characters. I need my checklist to see what you think. What did you think of Michelle Hurd's Raffi character?
I felt like I was missing something. Like I even looked it up. I was like, wait, is she from another series that I haven't seen?
Yeah. She
So
was from for what's that one show? Blind Spot.
no, I mean a Star Trek show.
Oh, Star Trek. No,
Yeah,
I don't think she was on another Star Trek.
I don't think so either. And
But I think she's
but
like a carbon copy of other characters from other Star Trek.
she seemed very familiar, like a lot of some of the other characters. But I think she played her role well, just kind of as that rugged rebel officer that got kicked out and now is living in a trailer, which literally was what she was doing.
And she was a drunk.
And yeah, because what got her to go was that vintage wine that Picard brought over, and then it was I found her story more interesting with the captain and his holograms on his ship than her and Picard. They seem to click better.
Yeah. So let's get to the new captain. What's his name? Cristobal Rios, Captain Rios.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like this character. It wasn't because I like the captain. I like the idea that it's the captain and all his different holograms that represents parts of his personality that basically created sort of like this mystery who this captain really was. I actually like that storyline. I actually found it interesting, especially the fact that you don't even know who you're arguing with or whether you're arguing with a hologram or the actual captain. I don't know why they can't figure it out because, there's like, 5 holograms and they have like very generic personalities. And the captain is the one that's like all depressed and, that kind of stuff. But I actually found his character the most interesting is because I thought it's because his character was actually unpredictable with all his different personalities.
Yeah, they did a really good job with him because when Rafi's trying to figure out what's wrong with the real captain, Santiago, she has to bring together all the holograms and kind of piece it all together like a puzzle. And because she's only going to be able to get so much out of each of them. And then also, I enjoyed the fact that because they're holograms, so some of the holograms are able to empathize with the synthetic and what she's talking about when she's doing. But at the same time, they each have that kind of different rugged personality of the captain, and so that one character through holograms and himself was able to serve so many different purposes along with everybody else on the ship, and being the same and at the same time being different. And so I think you're definitely right. He ends up being one of the most interesting characters on the show, and it's cool to see. I mean, yeah, it's not a Starfleet ship, but it's a Hispanic captain.
Well, it's not only that. It's being played by Santiago Cabrera, and I think he did a really good job because not only he played all these different personalities, he also had to change accents.
Yeah, I don't know how actors manage to do that. My hat's off to them when they can change accents like that.
Yeah, so I'm actually impressed. Alison Pill plays Dr. Agnes, who is basically the scientist who's tracking down the synthetics and all this kind of stuff. And it'll be later kind of revealed that she kind of betrays and then goes back on their side, back and forth. I find her character kind of bland in its own way. It was a character that, you know, you don't really like her or hate her enough, you know, that kind of stuff. They try to do that twist, like, oh, she betrayed them on one episode, and later on she, I don't know, tries to help them somehow, which I didn't think it was a big help. But anyways, what did you think of Alison Pill's character of Dr. Agnes?
I found it kind of annoying. Just she's so interested in the synthetics, and she's the foremost doctor in you know, that kind of research, and then she gets her mind taken over, so that she can't tell anyone that she's betrayed them, but at the same time she's agreed to betray them, and it's back and forth, and so I really didn't feel like she had that great of a purpose, other than being the catalyst for the way that the Romulans keep track of them. And so every time that they caught up to them again, or it moved the plot forward, because like, oh, like, we don't, like, how are they tracking us? Like, he's still on our tail. It was more of like an eye roll moment, because she's just kind of like standing there, like all like really, really scared looking.
Yeah, sort of like, I'm suspicious and I'm trying not to be suspicious, you know.
Yeah, but very suspicious. So I'm a little surprised that they didn't figure out a little bit sooner, more than anything.
Yeah, and I feel kind of ashamed because I really do like Alison Pill. She does a lot of great movies before, and I thought her talents were kind of wasted. But let's talk about the last character that was actually introduced, who's basically the major backbone of all of this. Is, I believe her name is Isa Briones, who plays Soji. Oh, she also played, you know, her other two characters.
Right.
But Soji was the main character, who is the synthetic that everybody is looking for, that's trying to lead her to the synthetic planet, you know, that kind of stuff. What did you think about Soji and the actress playing the character?
I think she did a good job, especially saying that she had 3 roles to play. They did a good job at taking all the 3 roles and making them distinct enough to where that she can act out the parts and be able to be that kind of catalyst for the new series going forward, and making it that she is related to a character from the past and how it connects to Picard. I thought she did really good. I did like, because of the way she grew up not knowing, and then finding out that she kind of has a place. So first finding out she's a synthetic, and then thinking she doesn't have a place, she doesn't have a home, she's nobody, she's not even alive, and she finds this home in this town or village, whatever you want to call it, and then having to make a choice of shutting down this beam or not, letting in their tentacle god or not, and being able to make that decision. I thought that she did a good job.
Yeah, I do actually found her character probably was the most refreshing. I don't think she's that quite up to par yet with Data per se, because
no, definitely not.
Technically, she's supposed to be like the more human looking version of Data, with better emotions and more personality and so on. I thought it was interesting that she didn't even realize she was a synthetic in the first place. But then I had questions like, well, what happens to her now that the fact that she does realize that she's a synthetic? Does she start adopting a synthetic personality or adopting, a human personality? I guess that's going to be something that we'll see on season 2. So I guess So the last thing that I do actually want to talk about is the fact that they did renew, so there will be a season 2. But the way how they're going to set up season 2 is because the one thing that we didn't talk about is that Picard technically died. And and for some unknown reason, they revived him in the last episode, because Picard was dying from like some kind of a brain aneurysm or cancer.
A brain leisure, brain
something.
Something, yeah.
So technically he died, and then they just created a new body, and they just downloaded him into this new and I wasn't even sure, was that a synthetic body that they
Yeah.
created, right? So in
Hmm.
reality, he's like a synthetic, but
Now he is.
yeah, with a human brain, or that kind of stuff. Which, by the way, I think that would be great technology if we could do that in the future.
That
But
was I thought that was nice just because it was able to give him that moment with Data about, hey, like, how did you really feel about me? It's like, well, I wasn't able to feel, but I knew the way you felt about me, and that for him was that was kind of like letting him, I guess, rest in peace. In other words.
so what? Did you enjoy the demise, or not the demise, but the end of Data, because that basically permanently extinguished the idea of Data anymore in any more future episodes of Star Trek?
Yeah, I was fine with it just because they were able to set up a synthetic lineage now with Soji, and I thought that, out of all the characters, her character was well developed and well thought out, um, and so for, like I was saying, for Data to have that, for the series to start with Data and Picard playing chess, but I think it was chess at the beginning, and
Yeah.
then for it to end just with that brief conversation about their friendship. I thought it was handled really well. The one thing I'm still not I'm still 50-50 on whether I like the fact that they revived Picard, just because I I I get it. You need him for the show. It's called Picard, but at the same time, it would have been so much more poetic, and I think it would have almost passed the. But maybe that's something that they do in a future season where he passes the baton to somebody else, kind of, in a way. But I think that's really tough to do in a series like that. So I just I don't know. I don't know how I feel about him being revived, because I mean, technically he died, and I think personally I would have enjoyed that closure.
I will second you, because I think letting Picard die in a heroic way, like this, would have been a perfect ending to his character. But I agree, they just need to bring him back, because somehow they just wanted to renew for a second season, and instead they were like, no, Brent, your Data is gone, but we're gonna bring back Picard, for a second season. But I can't blame them, because Picard is a favorite character in the Star Trek universe lore, and
Hmm.
if we can't have a Star Trek movie, he's probably the best thing right now. With the Star Trek franchises. So I think it, in a way, it's a smart move. I don't know if I would have done that move. I would have just call it one season series, and just be
Yeah,
done with it.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought that's what they were going to do, and then when I saw I was renewed for a second season, I was
Ratings were
confused.
too good. The ratings were too good. That's what actually happened, and then people were disappointed that he didn't get an Emmy nomination for playing Picard, and it was like going, oh, okay. you know. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. What grade would you actually give the first season of Star Trek Picard, Manny?
Ah, man, overall, I'm gonna go. I feel a little like I'm being a little bit harsh, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a C plus.
A C plus. Wow. Okay. I am actually going to feel a little bit over generous, and you know me, I grade harshly.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
actually, I'm actually going to go with the B minus, and the only reason,
Okay. All right.
and I know we're very close, but
Mhm.
usually I know your grade is higher than mine,
Yeah.
and I'm only going with that direction was because I was somewhat entertained, not through the action, but through basically the development of the characters. I do see where the C plus actually comes from, because there were some stupid episodes that they could just completely throw away, but I think this show has potential, and I think that that ragtag crew that was assembled by the last episode has that potential to be, it's not a traditional Star Trek, but it has sort of like that Lost in Space type of feel. Now it's just a small spaceship, and you have no idea what they're going to do next, and so on. But yeah, this show is on shaky ground, especially the fact that if you gave it a C plus, I gave it a B minus. I don't know if it could actually go up or go down here, and that's going to be the big if.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see what kind of ratings the second season brings in.
Yeah, that right. Not a problem. So, anyways, hey guys, so that's pretty much it for our spoiler review for Star Trek Picard. So go ahead, hit like, hit subscribe, leave us a comment, whether you hate us, like us, or whatever it is. Until next time, we will continue watching and do a lot more spoiler reviews on LRM's Binge Watch.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. That's right.